What's up, Dolphins fans? Mailbag on today's show here at Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. Time to look at some of the most pressing questions around the Miami Dolphins. And we'll start with Zach Osinska. Think I nailed that. $2 super chat. Malik was definitely the steal of the draft. He is referring to Malik Washington, the 6th-round wide receiver from Virginia. I am just such a fan of his game. He's a little bit undersized at 5'8" and a half. He's predominantly a slot wide receiver, but I think that is something that Miami needs. Their top 3 guys, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they can all play on the outside. They can all play in the slot. But having a slot specialist and Malik Washington could benefit them in certain packages. Also, he was one of those productive wide receivers in all of college football last year. He was a second-team AP All-American. He had 1,400-plus yards for Virginia. He had more than 10 touchdowns as well. He was one of the most productive wide receivers in America last season. And for the Dolphins to get him in the 6th round was an absolute steal. There was many people that thought he could go in day 2 of the NFL draft, but slid all the way in day 3. I think Malik is going to impress people in training camp, and he's going to be the 4th wide receiver for the Dolphins in the season coming up. Make sure you are following me on Twitter. There is so much to get you guys and so much content out there, man. Handles at Nic_Rohloff. Daily Dolphins coverage, Miami Dolphins highlights as well. We are 3 followers away from 1,000. Go give me a follow and help me out because we're trying to get over a stack. All right, this question is coming in from Zimbot-E Toot. Zimbiotic Toot. Nailed it. Who is going to be our starting nose tackle? Is he on our current roster? Well, let me say yes on that. So the current defensive line depth chart has got Zach Sealer, number 1, but he's not like really a true nose, right? He's a good defensive tackle. Tier Novell Gallimore could be those nose tackles that we're talking about, but is it really necessary to go out and acquire a true nose? Under Anthony Weaver, I don't know. When you think of nose tackles, you think about these big dudes that are just going to clog up the middle of that the O-line. But I think the Dolphins are going to go with a lot of speed and a lot of athleticism more along the defensive line. So I do think if you're going to ask anyone to be that nose tackle, I think it would be Zach Sealer. I just don't anticipate them going out there and grabbing one of those guys through free agency. Because when I look at Sealer, they're not nose. To me, a defensive tackle and nose tackle are a little bit different. So I don't think nose tackle is really the biggest need for the team. Here's another defensive tackle for more depth. Zeon's here. Do you think the Finns would try to trade for Joey Porter Jr.? Could help with our CB room for sure. Well, there's no doubt that Joey Porter Jr. would be very good for the Finns. It's just simply not going to happen. 2nd-year man out of Penn State. He was really good as a rookie for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still don't understand how he fell out of the 1st round. I thought he was a 1st-round player. I thought he was a top 20 player in the NFL draft during the 2023 draft. But he fell to the 2nd round. Steelers picked him up, and he was fantastic. I don't think the Finns would try because I don't think the Steelers would even consider it. Legacy guy as well, since his dad's Joey Porter, the Hall of Famer from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers aren't going to deal that corner anytime soon. Chucky coming in here. Name a sleeper free agent target for the Dolphins. Interesting. So we've talked a lot about Justin Simmons, Calais Campbell, and Greg Van Roten on the offensive line. But let's stay on the defensive line. How about Lawrence Guy? Yes, you heard that correctly. Another big defensive lineman who has been with the Patriots over the past 4 seasons. He would be a decent rotation guy to throw in there alongside Zach Sealer. We've already talked about nose tackle, but I don't think Lawrence Guy is that, and I don't think he needs to be that. He's been decent in his production. Now, he was kind of phased out of the Patriots defense in 2023, not doing that much. You could say he's cooked, but he's got a ton of experience, and he has some solid production. He could be like that guy you throw in there as that 10 to 15 snaps a game. Nothing crazy, not expecting someone to be at this stage in free agency, a ridiculous starter. There's a couple guys out there that could fit that category, but I don't think Lawrence Guy is one of them. I'm certainly intrigued by adding him, but I would obviously still prefer Calais Campbell if that was on the table. But would you sign Lawrence Guy? If you would, type Y for yes. If you looking to stay away, type your N for no. Omar Betancourt coming in with who's replacing Robert Hunt. Now, this is one of the biggest questions that the Dolphins are facing this offseason. Robert Hunt left Miami after a spectacular 2023 season to go to the Carolina Panthers on a 5-year, $100 million deal. Pretty hefty price for an interior offensive lineman, but Hunt deserved it after the good season he just put on. So the question is for Chris Grier is, how do you replace that production? Well, really hasn't done anything to do it right now. Is Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, Jack Driscoll are the three guys mainly fighting to start that right guard position. And if you had to look at this Dolphins roster, the weakest portion on it is the interior offensive line. Like, I think your two bookend tackles are solid. Austin Jackson, Teron Armstead. You have Patrick Paul off the bench as that swing tackle. Kendall Lamb as well. But Isaiah Wynn, Aaron Brewer, and whoever starts at right guard is the weakest part of your team. And is the replacement on the team? That's the biggest question. I would still like to go out and sign Greg Van Roten, the offensive guard who played for the Raiders last season, put up really good numbers according to PFF. At right guard, I think he would be one guy that could start for Miami that is still a free agent out there. Michael Beauchamp. I don't know how you say these. Beauchamp? I'm going to go with that one. Sounds good, Jack. Will we actually use our tight ends? Now, that's a good question. I'm actually kind of bullish on the tight ends. I am, and call me crazy. I like Jonnu Smith, man. I think he's a fantastic addition to this Miami Dolphins team. They actually signed him prior to free agency getting underway because he was allowed to do that due to being cut as a veteran. Smith is the best after-catch tight end in the NFL. That is statistically proven. When he gets the ball in his hands, he is just so dynamic. He was used in New England and Atlanta in jet sweeps, also in Tennessee. He has predominantly worked with Arthur Smith in his career, but I think Jonnu Smith in this Dolphins offense, just catching as a security blanket, like 5 to 10 yard passes for the Dolphins over the middle of the field, he's going to be very dynamic and a nice little safety blanket for Tua Tagovailoa. But I also like Durham Smythe as a tight end too, and then Jody Fortson, who the Dolphins signed in free agency on a 1-year deal after he missed 2023 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I think Fortson can really push Julian Hill for that third tight end spot, but I really am bullish on Jonnu Smith and what he's going to bring to this Dolphins offense in 2024. I expect him to be used quite a bit. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because, well, you just become the most informed Dolphins fan on the planet. You want to be one of those, which everyone should be. Hit that sub button, daily videos on the latest news and rumors. All right, real one alert, Sherry May. How much have we seen of Cam during OTAs, assuming you're talking about Cam Smith, the second-year corner out of South Carolina? Haven't had too much reports out of camp on Cam Smith right now. He did speak to the media in the first early portion of OTAs last week about how he really just was kind of taking last year as a learning curve, right? Didn't get a lot of PT under Vic Fangio, but was able to learn under Xavier Howard, learn under Jalen Ramsey. And even though he wasn't able to get on the field that often and apply it, absorbing that knowledge will only help him this season. He is expected to take a larger role on this team. When you think of what the Dolphins have at corner, you still have Jalen Ramsey. You still have Kader Kohu in the nickel. You brought in Kendall Fuller to replace Howard. I like those three. Who's that fourth corner? Is it Nick Needham, who's either going to be the nickel or the safety? Or is it going to be Cam Smith, especially on the boundary? So Cam Smith's number will be called upon this year, and hopefully we get more good and reports that make us feel good about his improvement from year one. Dr. Dummy Beta. Who's the first guy to think about signing after June 1st? Two guys that I think need to be signed. One, Greg Van Roten. We've already talked about him. Greg Van Roten needs to be signed, man. He would be able to come in, and I would slot him in to be your starting right guard right away. And if you see in camp that he doesn't deserve that, well, maybe Robert Jones, Jack Driscoll, or Liam Eichenberg can step up. But I think Greg Van Roten would be my number one. Number two would be Justin Simmons. And then number three would be Calais Campbell. But if the Dolphins were to go after the first guy to sign after June 1st, it should be Greg Van Roten, but I could also accept Dalton Reisner. Look at this thing. I mean, I'm wearing it, and you see it on screen. This quarter zip is just terrific. It looks pretty. It's comfortable. The nice dark colors, the old school Dolphins logo right here. Get yours today. They're on sale at chatsports.com/DolphinsQZip. Join me in representing the Dolphins with one of the best quarter zips in the game, and that link will be in the description and comments of today's video. I told you I got mine. Now it's your turn to get yours. So it's coming in from Mitsulius. With the new mobility expected out of Tua, do you think the office Okay. Do you think the office will ignore the current offensive line situation? All right. Appreciate producer Jack Latteray for helping us through this, but I do think they will not. No. Okay. Back on track. They're not going to ignore the situation. They know they need to get a right guard. To me, if Chris Grier doesn't think this team needs a new or more protection and beef in that interior offensive line, I would question his ball knowledge. But I know Chris Grier knows what he's doing because he's made terrific moves to build out this roster. He knows the offensive line needs some improvements. I think he will get some new guys or at least one dude into the building to at least compete with the current guys trying to get that right guard position. I think this is going to be the third or fourth time we mentioned his name on the show, but bring me Greg Van Roten. No, I don't think the Dolphins will look at the mobility from Tua and say, well, he's able to evade more pass rushers, so we don't need to get an offensive lineman. No, they still want to protect the lefty. This is a good question that I'm asking you guys now. Who do you hate more inside the division? If you hate the Bills the most, type BUF. Do you think it's the Jets, or that's what you believe, type NYJ, or do you hate the Patriots the most, type NE? My answer, that team right there. I despise the Buffalo Bills. I hate them all. I hate their fan base. All right, we got Zimbotic 2 back again. This time we've got the name right. Pick one position of need, defensive tackle, offensive guard, or safety. We're not getting all three, in my opinion. Well, I think we're going to double down, and we might even call this a quintuple down. I think that's 5. We're going to go offensive guard. It is the biggest need for this team, and I think you could convince me that you can get by with Zach Sealer and Tier Tart and Neville Gallimore on the defensive line. You can try to talk me into being okay with the 2 safety setup, even though I think it would benefit a lot of people to get that third safety in there just for more added depth and insurance. But you need an offensive guard. And I get it, not every team is going to have a perfect 22 for 22 in terms of starters, but to have a right guard situation that on the outside looking in, at least right now, is as bad as it is for Miami, feels like it would be very dumb to leave it where it is now. So I think the position Chris Grier will address is the right guard spot. Ooh, okay, Landon is translating this. Okay, will Tyreek Hill get 2,000 yards this season? No. As cool as that would be, I don't think that's the case. He was damn close last year, but here's my thing. I think Jalen Waddle takes a step up. I think Odell Beckham Jr. provides Miami with a more reliable wide receiver 3. I think Jonnu Smith will be an added help in this passing game through the tight end room. I also am very bullish on Devon Achane and Jalen Wright getting more involved in the passing game as well. I just think there's so many talented players on this Miami Dolphins offense that it just won't be Tyreek Hill super targets, right? Hill is obviously going to get probably more than 100 yards or 100 catches, and he's probably going to get more than 1,400 yards again. But 2,000, likely not. I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be very fun and a cool storyline to track, but there's just too many mouths and too many good, talented players on this team to where Tua is going to be able to spread the ball around to everyone. So I don't think it's going to be a 2,000-yard season for Tyreek Hill. All right, that is the mailbag, but you can continue the conversation and continue to ask me questions surrounding the Dolphins over on my Twitter, at Nic_Rohloff. My DMs are open, so if you do want to shoot me a question, follow me, DM me, and I will get in that DMs as well and answer you. There is no fear from me. I will always answer back. So go give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff.